every time I try to talk to God, this is what I hear. you know?
Yeah.
But I was going on the waltz, and it was just trying to slow my brain down, focus on what was in front of me, be present. I told you, I kept hearing faith, trust, opportunities. That gives me chills when I say it.
Welcome to Podcast on Wheels. I'm your host, Brian Smith, and today we have one of my best friends. He is an artist, a speaker, and an entrepreneur. Welcome to the show, Nick.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I am awesome, brother. So you just drove in and where do you live in Indiana?
So Delphi, Indiana.
Delphi,
Small
Indiana.
little town north of Lafayette. So
Okay.
we produce that over there.
So from there to Alabama, he's about 7-8 hours away. So he came into town yesterday for the event we're hosting tonight on March 12th. And we're recording this because Nick has had an awesome journey over the past few years. He may not refer to it as that yet, but he's getting there. All right. So Nick, take us back to some of your story that you were sharing with us last night and today.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a journey. It's wild that you and I met. It was exactly, I think it was about a little bit less than 2 years ago,
Okay.
give or take. So yeah, I was
Yes.
just so driven on a certain direction, and then God had a different idea. You know, like I said, I got entirely humbled up, everything got reset, and I was going in this direction, trying to get myself out there, trying to do bigger rap jobs, branding, different stuff like that. It's like, hey man, you got something much, much deeper down inside. I got a bigger calling for you. Let's reset things, go in that direction. So that's where we're at now. So,
Yeah.
I mean, last time we talked, I was talking about doing the art, talking about getting in front of the kids and doing speaking, just basically being that version of myself that I wish I would have had when I was that age.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do, and it's just the pieces are starting to line up and everything's making sense. And it just, like you said, I mean, it's been a journey, to say the least, but everything comes in lessons and has built me. And I don't wish it any other way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's just, there's so much wisdom and strength and knowledge I've learned over school of hard
Quick
knocks.
time. And you're what, 27?
27, yeah.
27. And so, and I said this to you last night. I said, I'm a little jealous that you got to go through it this young, in a way. I know it sucks, and I know what you went through. And you called me, and we talked about it periodically. And you had people there in your town, though. You found maybe the right people to be around, to surround yourself and get guidance. But you had to be careful with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully God put the right people in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd had some pretty good mentors and different stuff like that, but like a lot of it was interesting how it worked. You know what I'm saying? Because like they're all forever ages, everybody kind of my age and different stuff like that. And I was the one that thought a little bit differently. I was trying to get myself out there,
Yeah.
but then it's like, okay, now I want to get in front of like guys like yourself. And then, when everything hit, well, I found out which ones of those guys were real that were reaching out to try and help, with everything like that.
Right.
And, the pastor from church, a couple others that got directed, the reporter that I was telling you about,
Right.
kind of came in, he was staying with me for a month, just in a really messed up situation in town, but he was there and it was just that source of light that I needed, and it just really, I don't know, it's just interesting that I'm seeing where the pieces are connecting now and everything. Once you see it from that lens, it's like a perfectly orchestrated, plan and everything.
Let me draw a comparison here because, guys, if you haven't seen his artwork, go look at it. That's all I'm going to say. It's worth it. And if you get to see it in person, it's a gift. When you start looking at how your life has been down this journey and you're starting to see things line up, is that similar to what you paint in your art? Is that an expression? How do I draw that together? Because your art is, I've never seen somebody light something on fire, smack the painting, and then throw something at it, and then have their butt out when they're painting. Like you do it all. Now, I saw the video, but it's like, how do you express that? Is that part of inside of you? Is that what you see?
Oh, amen, dude.
Okay.
Like I think that's what makes the most sense. Like, I need to come back to this point.
Okay.
Just remind me to come back to the point when it comes to this piece and different stuff like that,
Yeah.
PTSD and all that kind of. But anyways, it was such a I'd experienced so much stuff early on in life. A lot of failures, a lot of things, people trying to take advantage of me and different stuff like that. And there's so much stuff that just hadn't been expressed. So, and it's like I was trying to get bigger jobs. I thought maybe that would help me express it, but it was still putting me inside of a box. So now it's like that box is wide open.
Right.
So it's like, okay, I'm taking all these gifts, putting it together, and it's coming out with something that's entirely different. Like I've been told by a couple of different people that like, dude, there's a lot of stuff going on in your piece, but it works perfectly. And I'm like, well, I'll be honest with you. That's what's going on up here. There's a lot of
Right.
a lot of shit going on
Right.
up here. But it's like if I can put it all together and make it make sense, and like I was talking to Mark, the one I told you about that kind of came in that was a, spiritual coach and kind of therapist and different stuff like that. And he was, man, this military pieces, I showed him a picture of it. He was one of the only ones I showed.
Yes.
And he was, because he served in the military and he worked with a lot of veterans and different stuff like that. And he goes, that's really cool because he said, "There's a lot of stuff going on here." He said, "This is awesome," but he said, "It's almost like what's going on up here for, like, different people that are in PTSD and, like, seeing you got this life over here, you got this life over here,
Mhm.
you got the before and you got the after, and, like, let's put everything together,"
Yeah.
and that's kind of what it is. So, it's like I can't take all the credit by no means. I mean, a lot of this stuff was playing in my head from the Bedman upstairs, and it just like I'm just the one that's trying to get
Right.
out there. But
Right.
it's like let's have some fun with it.
Yeah.
It's like my initial thought was like I want to start doing this stuff in front of the kids at schools to make a difference. So how can I get their attention? Okay, well I'm gonna throw shit at it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna catch it on fire,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna do different stuff like that. And that just kind of translated into all the art.
Yeah.
Like that Mendoza piece that I was telling you about.
Yes.
It was
Let's
like,
talk about that piece for a second because I've looked at that piece multiple times. And every time I look at it, I think I see something more.
my dad said the same thing.
And I've
Yeah.
looked at it at least 10 times. And I've showed it to people as they were like, well, how does he paint? And I'm like, I can't explain it here. I can't.
Yeah.
What would you call the art? Nick?
Maybe like
Nick Mendel's?
yeah, like
Seriously.
multimedia kind of like where
Okay.
it's like where we came up with the name Mended Art basically
Yeah.
was basically it's kind of like mended means something that was kind of to an extent broken a little bit, but bring it together into something that's much
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
That's more whole and it's got more character behind it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm doing a little bit. It's like my old career, basically doing the raps and the graphic design stuff like that, bringing in the media side of things and throwing the paint at it. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
So, but like that IU piece, dude, like I've always been a Purdue fan at heart. So
Okay.
growing up,
Okay.
Purdue was the closest town to me.
Okay.
Indiana was the one down south, basically.
Right.
That's where my dad grew up and everything like that. And all my family was IU fans, so I wanted to be different.
Right.
So my
Right.
grandpa would bust my balls and do stuff like that. But when they were making this championship run, Mendoza was, he was talking on God, thinking of been upstairs, and it was just like, how could you not get behind that? I'm not gonna be one of those fans that's like, no. So then I got thinking about it, and then I started seeing the different ideas, and then it all started coming together, and it's like, okay, let's have fun with this. Like David, I was telling you about, I was talking to him. He was a big IU fan. He was following the thing and different stuff like that. And I was telling him the ideas. I was like, okay, I want to have some cigarettes that are dipped in gold over here because their coach, Sinetti, they call, that was
Yeah.
kind of his nickname. I wanted to have Jesus over here. He goes, man, I don't know if those two go together. And I'm like, watch and find out, man. So it turned out awesome. It's just something entirely different. And then, like you said, I had so much detail in the Photoshop design,
Mhm.
let alone when you add all the paint and the wordings and different stuff like that on top of that.
Yeah. Tell us a
It's
little bit
just-
about that part because you explained it to me briefly last night. Because you don't just use paint, you don't just use the computer, you don't just use this
Yeah.
the process, and you don't have to share your secrets. But I think you could tell anybody exactly how you did it. They're
I
not
can't
going to be able to
replicate
do it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a gift, and it is, and I'm thankful that you're using it that way. But what is the process to go from what do you start with? It's an 8x4, 8 foot.
So I do 4 foot by 80 inches.
Okay,
Yep. So it's just a big piece of dirt plate. So they use it on trailers.
okay,
So it's a sheet metal, and then you got plastic on the inside, and then you got plastic or sheet metal on the other side.
okay,
And basically that gives me a nice substrate to wrap, which is all the stuff that I did before.
right,
So I have to the Photoshop design is your base basically.
Okay.
That's what you start with.
right,
So here I am, I'm grabbing images here, I'm grabbing here. This is the general concept that I want to have. How do I bring all this together? About
Okay.
3 or 4 days of doing that, adding some smoke in here, adding some different stuff like that.
okay,
Okay, now we got this to work with. And then after that, we just, okay, let's see what sticks. Let's see what, we throw
Yeah.
at it and make sure there's not too much going on. And then sometimes the ideas pop in a little bit differently. And it's like, okay, what's the overall message I want to do behind this piece? How can I make that the most impactful possible and make it look
yeah.
cool and shit
Yeah.
too? Sorry, I didn't mean to spit there. But,
No, it happens.
Well, sorry,
Every
that's
show,
okay.
every show I get spit on. The Jesus part in the IU. What does that look like? Is it about
Yeah, so it's probably about
yeah,
that tall. And it was literally, it's like almost like kind of like a Family Guy
yeah?
cartoon,
It's like a
basically,
cartoon.
take.
Yeah,
And the picture that I ended up finding, it took a lot to find. I'm like, this is a centerpiece. I want to find the one that's awesome. But he's pointing like this.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And I saw that shoulder and he goes, he's always thanking God. So I'm like, I'm gonna spray the paint that here. I'm like, what if I just had Jesus on his shoulder?
Right there,
You
yeah.
always like the simple
Yeah.
analogy where it's like the devil on
Yeah.
this one, Jesus on this one. So that's what I did. I put a nice little tarp on him,
Mhm.
or the I can't even think, but the thing with the IU,
Yes.
it's got the stripes going across there. And then yeah, it's basically a cartoon I drew on there, and then I painted all in and stuff. And
So some of it you design on a computer.
yeah,
The
the example, the cigarettes too.
Right.
I wrapped all that with it's very convenient having the skills that I do and all the equipment. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, now I'm bringing it all together.
And when you say the military piece for tonight, going past to present and all the things that guys have been through, man, I can say I sometimes say my past life. Like I was married before, different things like that. I've referred to it as in a past life, it was this situation, but I haven't ever thought about putting that into art and telling that story and you having that skill set. So you bring in the piece for Bearded Warriors. Where did you talk to Ty a little bit? You
Yeah.
talk like, how did you come up with that design for
Okay.
another military guy to go, oh my gosh, I see this and this and this. Like everybody that I've shown, you sent me
I just sent you
a
the Photoshop version of the
no paint yet.
yeah, no.
Okay.
Yep.
Just that, like people were saying, oh my God, that's awesome. And I'm like, that's just the start.
Ye
Tell us how you worked with Ty, how you got in the mind frame.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Like, how
fair
do you
enough.
do that?
Yeah, so, I mean, it was basically so I never served nothing like that. My grandpa was a Vietnam veteran, and I know how much it affected him all the way through life.
Mhm.
So, I mean, when you I wanted to do a piece for the event regardless, but
Right.
then when you mentioned it was for their charity, I'm like, "Okay, this is awesome." You know, like,
Yeah.
let me just help. And I talked to Ty over the phone. I'm like, "Okay, tell me about what do you guys do here?" You know,
Yeah.
different stuff. It was a lot more than I thought initially it was.
Okay.
And so basically it developed around we've built a community for veterans so they feel part of a team again, you know, and basically like something for them to understand that they're included,
Mhm.
you know, not singled out. And I just asked them a lot of different questions. Okay, this is the overall concept I want to have. You know, I'm like, I don't want it to be negative. I don't want it to be, you know, just like suicidal, no matter what way you look at it, it's a little bit on the sad side of things.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want the whole piece to be around that, but I want at least to pay homage to that.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, let me think about this. Like you look at a soldier, any whatever it may be, they've got a life over here that they lived that was an entirely different life that unfortunately, like some lose brothers and sisters in war, whatever it may be.
Right.
And then they got the life that they got to come out to on the other side of here. And then it's almost like it's an entire reset.
Yeah.
You know, so how do we show all both that in that piece? And I was going through, so basically there's this place where I get all my images from that I Photoshop them all together and different stuff. And I saw this video that showed it was a military soldier in the middle, and
Okay.
it showed the war side over here. It was like very drastic, like bombing and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then it showed like almost like the civilization side over here. I'm like, that's the concept that I want to
Right.
go with.
Okay.
So after that, just finding the right pictures that kind of symbolize and different stuff. Like there's one on the right hand side that looks really cool. It's like a little kid on his dad's shoulders with like a big American flag and different stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, let me just add that different stuff in
Awesome.
there. And we did some like attributions to, you know, Huntsville because he's like,
Okay.
this is a big area for like, this is where it's pretty
Yeah.
much based at. So he said, I don't want to do like the whole background that, but how
Right.
do we kind of incorporate different stuff?
Right.
Because
There's
yeah, dude, yeah, I'm excited for you to see it. It turned out wild.
yeah, I'm excited to be a part of this. Let me say it that way.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking forward to seeing it, but when you can put something together and guys that are watching, stay tuned to the painting because we're going to start it on the 12th and it's going through the 20th to their golf scramble is how long the silent
20th
auction
of
April.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got a good 5
Awesome.
weeks for y'all to
Okay.
get your pocketbooks out and contribute to Bearded Warrior and get a cool piece of art like this. Or you can leave it with Ty and just say it's a donation, bro. You
He'll
know,
probably want it after tonight.
I mean, when he sees it, he may put the first bid in. But it's like you bringing that, you being willing to do that. What if somebody would have asked you to do this 2 years ago, a year? Would you been able to do it?
Dude, probably not.
Probably
You know,
not,
it's just
right?
like looking at all of it, like I had a full team at that point. I was going in an entirely different direction. Like art was something that I'd almost kind of lost.
Right.
Realistically. I mean, it was literally when everything hit, I told you I couldn't even do a pumpkin at Halloween. That was the scariest thing
That's
ever.
crazy, dude.
I mean,
Yeah, how bad did that?
Huh?
How bad did that get you?
Yeah, pretty.
Yeah.
Because like that was like my
Yeah.
my charisma, my speaking, and my art was like that was everything I had here. And when you
Right.
lose all of that, it's like, dude, what am I? You
Yeah.
know, like, here's a shell, basically. So that really messed with like,
Mm.
yeah, because like
Well,
I've created a lot of stuff over
Yeah.
the years. So
Courtney
you
and
know.
I were doing a show the other day, and I said, "Well, what happened like during that process?" And she said, "I still had more layers that needed to be peeled back." And that's what I'm hearing. You're like you had somewhat of a successful business already going, right?
Oh yeah, I mean,
I mean, you were
I had
paying your
built that
bills.
thing
You were
pretty
doing,
good.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'd gotten it almost to where it was I think, yeah, I actually had $200,000 business.
Yeah.
Not all profit, but like
Yeah.
it was pretty good for
yeah,
the age I was at, and it was just that was so clear. But I wasn't truly happy. You know,
Right.
I wanted to make a difference. That was the main thing where everything
Right.
stems from. I want to make a difference. I want to inspire. I wanted to help.
Yeah.
And there's only so much that I could do in that field that I was in.
yeah,
You know, but it was just that was the way I saw I could make money. And that was the way I'd been told I could make money.
Mhm.
You know, like I was talking to Maddits last night about it. It's
Yeah.
like, dude, like understand like what lights this thing up. And then God will always provide on the other side of things. As long as you're
Amen.
following that and you're practicing on those gifts. And like I said, the art thing, like I was telling Courtney, I don't know who I was telling earlier, but like my favorite thing growing up, I was the barber.
Mhm.
My favorite thing growing up was doing art pieces for my grandma. So she was my great grandma, and she a big Bulls fan. And I was always a big Derrick Rose fan. So I
Yeah,
would just do
okay.
pieces, and I'd love to see her expression. But doing that, especially tonight, it's gonna be dude, it just kind of gives me chills a little bit. It's gonna be a cool feeling again because I haven't had that for so long.
Yeah.
Like getting that in front of so many people that's like this just one image just kind of it lights something up inside of them. And I could only do so much of that when you're advertising another business or
Yeah.
different stuff like that. Now,
Yeah.
schools, that one school that you showed the boys,
Mhm.
that turned out pretty cool. We
Yeah.
got another one of those jobs, and that'll probably be the way I'm wrapping up, give or take the last business and different stuff.
Okay.
But it's just like, I don't know, it's just like it's a gift that I've always had and something that I truly wanted to express myself, but I was just limited in that career.
Yeah.
Just
Well, I hope this event tonight will propel you with your future as a speaker and doing more there. At the same time, some of you guys that are gonna get this clip, you have events too. Be cool to bring the art pace, you know? He's not gonna drive all the way to Vegas, but,
we have to.
you
We'll
can
figure it
fly him out there.
out.
We'll ship the piece that way, though, but don't make the man drive like I did. But just, looking at what you're doing, you've you've worked with some schools, you've worked with the kids, and now you're about to put it all together and put that presentation in place.
The main message, man, is just like letting these kids understand that it's okay to fail. That's literally where I start off. It's just like you're gonna fail. Like unfortunately, from a very young age all the way up, we're taught that if we're not getting A's, B's, C's, and D's, we're failing.
Yeah.
What's that doing the subconscious and different stuff like that? But like when you get out in the real world, if you're not taking any risks, you're not taking any chances, are you happy at the end of the day? You're playing comfortable all the time.
Mhm.
So that's a lot of it. And like having the kids understand that they've all got these God given gifts.
Yes.
A lot of them are hidden.
Yes.
A lot of them are under programming. They're kind of scared about standing out and different stuff
Yeah.
like that. When in reality, you're all put here to stand out. So that's kind of a lot of it. I mean, just kind of telling my
I love that.
story and explaining how I've gotten knocked down a lot,
Yeah,
and explaining
yeah,
that. And here I
yeah.
am in front of you guys today trying to
Yeah.
inspire you, be that version of myself that I wish I would have when I was that age. I mean, that's, like I said, it's risk, having the courage in themselves, understand there's faith most definitely involved. That's the main thing behind
Yeah.
everything. And it just kind of, again, taking that risk and not being afraid to fail and understanding what lights them up from the inside and going after that instead of where everybody else around is telling
Yeah.
them they have to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna put you in the group with another guy we had on the show. He's got a PhD in leadership. He's a preacher,
Okay.
and he's about my age. And he sat across the table when we were doing the show. He said, I'm gonna encourage everybody who is a parent or a guardian or taking care of a kid or doing something. Find their strengths and support it. Just that simple. Just what are they good at? And find a way to build on that. And you're implementing it by taking the art because you have a piece you're going to take to the schools, right?
Yeah. So
And so tell us about that piece.
So basically, that's at least the only one that we've done right now that we've practiced the speech and different stuff like that. It's just called the jump piece. So
Yeah.
I think I showed it to you last time we
Yeah.
were, but basically it's a kid skydiving and it's just a really cool background. You got the sky and you got God's hand underneath basically.
Yeah.
And that, as I'm telling this story, I'm adding different stuff to the piece. So like you got the cool Photoshop design.
Oh, whoa, hold on. So you're going to be painting live?
Bro, yeah.
So come on now. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I sent you that. So you have to take a look at that at some point.
Yeah.
But we've been practicing. So basically, it's not like super detailed.
Yeah.
But as I'm telling my story, I'm throwing paint at it, I'm
Dude.
catching it on fire, I'm
Okay.
adding different quotes to it and different stuff like that. So it's giving those kids like a mental block, basically. Like I remember this wild guy that had all this energy was up here and he wrote no risk, no story. If they don't remember anything else, you got that. So
Yeah.
it gives them that mental lock. Okay, this is what directions I need to go.
That's awesome.
But the main thing behind it is the kid is basically tapping into your inner child.
Yeah.
That version of you down there that when I asked you when you were in third grade, second grade, what you want to do, like I asked Matt, it's so clear for you to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I was to ask you when you were a senior in high school, how many other stuff is going on in your head about what everybody else has told you
Yeah.
need to do or who you need to be? You're lost. You're confused. So basically, it's helping those kids tap back into that thing that was underneath them, those gifts that were given to them that might have gotten suppressed along the way, and kind of just not being afraid to take that risk, taking that jump, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
That's originally the plan where we go. It's about an hour and 15 minutes most by the time I have Q&A and different stuff
Sure.
like that. Again, the piece is going to be same size. It's going to be standing up, have speakers, some music in there and different stuff like that, but it'll be a whole presentation. But the main thing is I don't want to be another talking head that's just up there.
Yeah.
I want to be real with these kids. I want to show them like I failed
Yeah.
to get them out,
Yeah.
but I've also seen it quite a bit. I've
Yeah.
taken some pretty big risks.
Yeah.
Now I swung for the fences a couple of times and
Yeah.
hit one or two.
Yeah. Exactly.
But yeah, so it's just kind of, that's where all of that is. I've probably done about 30 different takes of it at least.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, restart. But yeah, no, that's been a cool challenge too, because I talked about getting out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's been that's so I'm excited to get in front of the kids, most importantly.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna remember that forever.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
I mentioned that last night. Like you said, they're gonna be like that, that guy with the energy that threw paint all over the stage and did all this stuff, and they're like, "Wow,
Once it
that was cool."
Yeah, exactly,
Because
yeah.
who else I'm gonna sit here and tell you, as simple as, I'm an old man, but if I go back to, like, 6th grade, okay, I played instruments. I was in the band in, like, middle school.
Yeah.
But I think when I got to 7th grade, you had to choose band or football. Like, there's decisions,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like, "Well, this kinda sucks because I like playing instruments." But in the 8th grade, I was like 5'9", 180, and they're like, "No, you're playing football. You're not blowing a trumpet." And I'm like, but it almost became something that kinda made me embarrassed of
Yeah.
until later I picked up a guitar, and then that was cool. But to play the trumpet was kinda not so cool,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or the tuba because I was a fat kid. It's like, I enjoyed that stuff. And now that my boys, and you got to meet them,
Yo, yeah.
they have a music room. And that's partly because I didn't. You know what I
Yeah, yeah,
mean? And
exactly.
that's why, yes, we have a basketball goal. Yes, we have every ball known to man. Yes, we play sports, but that's not all they're about. And their identity
Let's
and
build
truly
yeah.
finding that. I think that's what you're helping the kids understand is we're all uniquely created by God. We all got the
Amen.
gift. It's just what part of the body, what part of the gift. Like if you gave, I'm not going to show anybody. I tried to paint a picture of Courtney a couple weeks ago at a marriage thing. I had to put a heart on the top of it just because it was so bad to say I love you and I'm sorry. Like I'm embarrassed. Like it was somebody said Picasso and I said Picu. That was terrible. I was like, I used every paint on the little thing, every color. And I was like, man, if I blend this and this, that's not what I thought it was going to look like. Now she looks like she's got dirt all over her face. Like it was terrible. Right. But how, when you get into that creative mode, can you stop, sit down and do it? Or does there have to be a process for you to go jump off a building, punch a chest and like Matthew McConaughey did in that movie? Like,
Uh-huh.
do you
Oh,
have
yeah,
to
yeah, I know
do
what you're talking about,
something to get in that mode? Or is it just Nick paint and you paint?
That's not what
Okay.
so on the art side of things,
Yes.
don't let me forget to go back to that on the
Yes.
painting, because there's a lot more to that speech that I actually wanna have for the kids to
Yes.
implement stuff. But getting in that mode, man, the creative side of things is like, okay, let me sit at this computer, let me play some music as loud as I can in my head,
Okay.
and then basically just see what's coming in. And then
Okay.
as I'm doing it, it's kinda helping me Photoshop it on there and kinda see what it looks like. And after that, once we get it wrapped out, it's just like, okay, let me go up here, let me have some fun, let me throw some paint, let me blast some music, let me see what's speaking to me. We'll restart this tomorrow once everything dries.
Right.
We'll go again. That's the hardest part is figuring out when this thing's finished. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know what
Oh, yeah.
and like this thing, that's why I worked on to the last day. Cause like, I want to add this, I want to add that. It's just the
Right.
way my brain works.
What does your wife do when you do that? Does she got to leave?
So she likes to just sit there and just watch. She gives me
That's
her 2 cents.
awesome.
Actually, there's some different stuff on there that she gave me a couple different ideas.
Okay.
And so our studio that's up above my apartment right now,
Mhm.
20 foot by 80 foot long with like 20-foot tall ceilings. So we have a staircase that goes up to the roof. And at that platform, I'm going to build a whole little, like, basically like a crow's nest, basically.
Right, right.
And that's going to be her watching area.
That's
So she
awesome.
can watch me do the paint and she
Yeah.
can heckle me and make jokes or whatever she wants to do.
That's fun, though.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
So, yeah. So the process, man, like I said, thankfully that creative gift has finally all come
Mhm.
back, but like it's never flowed this good. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like I'll spray paint a little bit over here. All right, that looks cool. Let's throw some paint over here. Let's get it
Yeah.
going, and then maybe go work out and then reset and kind of go
Okay.
from there. Because I can't sit still for super long. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm sure
Yes.
driving here was the longest you've sat still in a long time.
Yeah.
You either got to be on a plane or driving. But I was thinking about one of the musicians and songwriters and different people I've had on the show that one of the guys said, he's driving his car and all of a sudden this lyrics
Oh.
came in his head.
Oh yeah.
And then what he did was he talked into his phone and got the lyrics out. And I'm like, so you wrote a song while you were driving the car? And I've heard Chris Cornell did that with Black Hole Sun, and there's some songs that people, So is there that travel time? Does that ever go, oh God, I need to put that?
Dude, that okay. So I heard this quote. I forget where it came from. It was a podcast that I was listening to, and it was this guy talking about basically we're realistically like a vessel for God to talk to, and sometimes those ideas come in, and sometimes they get forgotten. Sometimes we
Mhm.
write them down. Realistically, what that is it's just like at some point your mind slows down enough to where he can speak to you and some of those ideas come out. So you talk about the music, I mean, that's all that is. It's
Yeah.
like then at some point this idea comes in, "Oh, there it is."
Yeah.
That one sticks. Like I've got my whole phone is like I've got a whole note section that's all these different art projects. Like that was one of the coolest things.
Oh,
I gotta stop. That was one of the coolest things is when I lost my memory, all these ideas started coming back in that was stuff I needed to memorize again. That was
okay.
basically these life skills that I had basically because like I said, you couldn't even think about anything. But
Yeah.
each of these things that I need to learn, like basically taking the risk on yourself, thinking outside the box, whatever it may be, those came in as art pieces. That was
Mm,
like basically ideas. And I was writing all those down. And I've noticed like when I'm flying in a plane, all sorts of different ideas come in. I don't know,
okay.
maybe I'm close to God,
Yeah.
I don't know what it
Yeah.
is there.
Yeah, you're
But
a little
like when
closer.
I'm on a walk, just kind of going just out in nature, like I'll get different ideas that come in.
Yeah.
When I'm sometimes it's kind of like when you're about to fall asleep too. That's like last night when I was I got stuff written down after you and I talked. All sorts
Mhm.
of different ideas are popping in there.
Yeah.
And it's literally like it just he talked about it's just like we are literally a conduit for these ideas are coming in that want to actually express themselves out in the world.
Mhm.
Now, are you the one that has the what do you call it? The balls, basically, idea to say
Yeah,
it
yeah,
to make it
to
happen,
do
take
it,
the risk
yeah.
on yourself. And
Now
that's kind of where some of these ideas come in. So before I forget, again, because we're going
yeah,
to talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
something
yeah,
else,
yeah.
back to the speech.
Yep.
So that and when you talked about doing the art, I want to have my plan initially from day one. What I saw was having duplicates of this piece for
Right.
the kids to go through and do themselves. So when you talked about not being creative, this gives someone that might not be creative and can't draw a stick figure, but anybody can throw some paint at this to express something.
Yeah.
Anybody can write a couple of different quotes about what people have said to them that they're not going to listen to anymore. So basically, I want to have a prompt that they would go through. They're like 10, 15 questions or so to ask them about what do you want to do with your life? What lights your heart up on fire? What is people told you can't do? To where they can express themselves on that piece, and
Mm,
it's a visual reminder every day to let them know where they want to
I
go.
love that.
It's just kind of something different that a lot of these kids aren't asked, and sometimes ever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're just kind of told where they need to go. What do
Mhm.
you want to do? Where do you want to be?
Right.
And that's kind of the whole point behind doing this. So
Yeah,
yeah, so it was kind of something different. Like I said, it was a kind of a way where you could sell poster versions of that piece.
yeah,
That would be like, okay, here's a prompt, and it would be a video of me talking and almost like coaching them basically.
yeah.
They kind of like run them through the piece and different stuff.
So, ultimately, I like how you said somebody told them something they couldn't do, because I heard Andy Andrews is an author, and I've read a couple of his books, and he said during a speech I heard him say, "At what point do we quit telling kids they can be astronauts and they can be doctors and they can like at what point? Because as a kid, you're like, what do you want to be? And like
Yeah,
you said, you genuinely say, like a friend of mine who's a preacher right now as kindergarten, he went back and found that he had written that down out of all the choices he had as a kindergartner. Now he's a 62-year-old man who preached for 17 years, but prior to that was a coach, and he was like, but God, like I go back and I'm like, first off, I said, "How did the paper last that long?" Because he's a friend of mine. I'm like, "Dang, that's an old paper. That's older than me." I was like, "But coach, how did you?" He's like, "I don't. I guess it was always in there." But he said, "I went to church with my grandma, but I didn't go all the time, so I didn't really know that life." And through high school, he said, "I was not saved. I wasn't a part of a church." And then when he got married, all that changed, and now he's our mentor and marriage counselor and
yeah.
coach and friend, and we get dinner and he calls me out and
But isn't
rightfully
that
so.
so interesting
I
though?
love it.
How clear it was back then?
They yeah,
I
and
mean, like, I'm sure I wrote down at some point, like, I remember the people that would come in and do the convocations at school. I'm
mhm,
like, I want to do that one day. I want to
yeah,
be an artist. Those were the two main things.
yeah. Well,
And you
here's
just,
yeah, and I'm gonna interrupt you because
no, yeah, yeah.
you are not only bringing that, okay? You're not only bringing that, Nick, you're bringing a comeback story. You're bringing a, "Hey, I've been knocked down. I've been knocked out. I couldn't make a pumpkin." Like, I mean, like, to me, I can't do it because I end up smashing the thing because it's not that's like I don't have the patience or the skill set. I'm like, "I got a smashed pumpkin. I'm Hulk." And they think it's funny, the kids, but it's like, to think of you not being able to just do that and then seeing what you're doing now. There's kids that's gonna be told they shouldn't do something, and sometimes that's the right thing to tell them. But when it's creative, when it's art, and then you can say, "Okay, look, now you wanna do this here." And you may have a successful business doing wraps, and the
Yeah.
the storefront stuff you did was awesome.
I mean, I know I do
In
just,
the window
yeah.
like, I saw some of that, and I'm like, "Where is that?" Like, Chicago, New York it's got a look to it, right?
Thank you.
And then I'm going, "That's gotta be Nick." It's like, that's you. And now to see it have more meaning
Oh, yeah.
from the PTSD from past to future to the Mendoza piece. Now let's talk about that a little bit more. You're you're gonna get was it McAfee?
Dude,
So you're gonna be on McAfee, you're
that's the
gonna go
goal.
do it? No, let's tell him right
That's
now. Let's tell him
yeah,
because 'cause he'll
so
tune in, Pat.
yeah, so we did the piece.
Yeah.
My one of those ideas came in when all this stuff was getting a art piece in front of Pat.
Mhm.
I thought it was gonna be a personalized one for him, but it was just this one. They were the ones that were doing the college broadcasting and different stuff like that when there was the
Right.
championship. I'm like, okay, I need to get this thing seen because I know I'm sitting on something that's adult here.
Yeah.
And because especially as I started doing it, it was like getting better. I'm like, I'm gonna get this in front of the top.
Right.
And Pat, dude, like again, memory. I was
Yes,
telling
yeah.
someone earlier about it and different stuff like that. But Pat, like, I was a fan of his back when he played for the Colts and different
Okay.
stuff. So it was like our energies are a lot the same.
Yeah.
Well, my mom took me to training camp and I was like 12 years old, 10 years old, whatever it is. And, all these top guys are going to hear the VIP section. And he's the one that comes over here and talks to everybody else. And he was super personal, super
Yeah.
cool, just
Yeah.
signing. He just there was no ego there. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And that just kind of, it helps me when it's getting in front of this, but I did the piece and I'm like, I need to get this to the top.
Yeah.
Who else to get in front of? And
Yeah.
Pat,
Yeah.
so we were rushing, trying to get it done, trying to finish up the final touches. And then I'm like, oh shit, he's going to be in town for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's going to be in California. He's going to be out of town. He's only like an hour and a half from our place.
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, we'll wait until next week. And this is actually really, God was truly testing my patience here. Because I don't know how else to explain it, but you're sitting on something that's gold over here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to get this in front of McAfee. And then another week had to go by. And then, okay, we're going to go take it down there. There's a Tuesday that we decided we were going down. Well, I didn't realize it was right after the Super Bowl. I forgot that he takes a 2-week vacation right after the Super Bowl.
All right.
And Key and I loaded this thing up in a box. And it's a process to load it all up and get it all ready. And we loaded it up in a box. We took it all the way down there. And it was the day after that they decided they were going to go on vacation. So they told everybody, but it was just like, all right, so that just builds to the story. It's funny, yeah.
But you also heard from
Well, that's another thing.
Yeah.
So we got that. So okay, we'll wait a couple more weeks. It's like, okay, gosh, I hate it. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of let's go. And then there was one night, so I was gonna take it again the following day. Then I found out he was gonna be for the USA, the baseball.
Okay.
He's gonna be out of town.
Yeah.
And it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's like maybe am I missing something here? What's
Right.
going on? Well, I ended up shooting Mendoza a message on Instagram. He had commented on it before, just like the praying emoji and different stuff. Like he loved it, and he was advertising his MS charity because that was the whole. Once I got going, I'm like, okay, I want to donate half of this to his MS charity because my mom has MS too.
Okay.
So it was kind of it's
Yeah.
spoke to the heart.
Yeah.
I slid up on his story.
Right.
I responded, "This is what I want to do," and he goes, "Okay,
Yeah.
awesome." And he kind of got going, and we talked a little bit, and then he goes, "Here's my agent's number. Get a hold of him. Let's do it from there."
Okay.
So basically, that's like, okay, there's the
There it
connections,
is.
because I got that. That gives me a lot more of a headway getting into Pat. I get in with Pat, and then I've also got that reporter Raphael I was telling you about. Wants to do a story on the main out of Indianapolis. That's like the perfect. I could never have asked for a better trifecta that's supporting the piece.
Right.
So it's just like that is only going to exponentially
Yeah.
catapult my future too. Let alone with you bringing me out for this. Like this is a hell of an opportunity. It just is like, oh, everything is all coming together.
It's funny how that funny how that
It
happened.
made, dude, it just, especially looking back, it was exactly almost a year and a half ago when everything happened.
Mhm.
And just how far I've grown spiritually, faith-wise, gifted, courage, everything like that. Since then, it all happens for a reason. But
Mhm.
God damn, it
Yeah.
was scary there for
Yeah.
a minute. Yeah. And then turned my ACL in between all that too. It kind of added the whole story, and it just kind of, but yeah, it works in a very interesting way, and it brings everything back full circle. And now it's like, okay, now it's time. Now it's like, now we're going.
Yeah. Well, here's my favorite part of your whole story is who you give credit to.
There's nothing else, man.
I mean, though, but
Yeah.
there's so many people that would have got lost in alcohol, drugs. I'm a creative. I'm an artist. I'm struggling. I can't make money. I'm going to cry about it. That's what I mean, there's musicians and artists out there that
Yeah.
complain that they can't do things. And I'm like, it's because you're drunk. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not working. But you have that ability to push through. Where did that come from in you? Is that always been inside of you to fight, to win, to compete?
Dude, I've been knocked down so many times after high school. But, that's even part of my speech too. My favorite memory that I have growing up, which I guess when you talked about where it comes from, it's the only thing I can contribute it to. So my grandpa was a Vietnam veteran.
Right.
He was very short and stocky, almost like a gorilla. And I
Okay.
was his little buddy.
Yeah.
And so basically he'd always, if I was speaking a little bit lower, he'd go, "Speak up while you out of here, boy." Something like that. Just kind of like that tough love. And when I was first learning how to ride a bike. So basically he's like, "I'll make you a deal. He said, "If you can do 8 figure eights here, we can go out to Indiana Beach." So, unless you're from my small little town, you know, don't know
Yeah.
what that is. But that was like in a small little amusement park that we had in our town that was almost like that age, you're like, that's like Disney World, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
So I was, I think, maybe like however old you are when you learn how to ride a bike, 5, 6,
Mhm,
whatever. And he brings this bike out. There's no training wheels on there. He goes, "Okay, here's this figure eight," and he drew the corners pretty tight there.
Yeah.
He goes, "Okay, 8 times, and we can go to Indiana Beach." I did that shit all day. I fell down over and over and over again. I was crying. My grandma was there. My grandpa was coaching me and different stuff like that.
I love it.
My knees were all bloody and different stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm like, "Grandpa, I can't do it." He goes, "No, you're gonna learn today. You're gonna figure it out." And I got it, but it just the simple fact of trying something that was outside my comfort zone that early. I mean, everybody, I guess, has to learn how to ride a bike.
Not in a
But
figure eight
but
times though. I love the teach. I wish
yeah,
I'd have known that.
yeah,
It's safer if you ever teach your kid to ride a bike and
yeah.
you let them go, you're like, "Oh god,
I don't know the
they're
figure
gone."
eight. Shit. Oh,
But it's slower
you're telling me
speed.
that.
Yeah, you're only
Yeah.
beat up this much. She could have just planned it. But
Yeah.
no, I love it.
But
But
it was just like that, and then, after high school, I didn't really have much I had to go through in high school, like, at the heart of the speech. I lose a girlfriend, I get another one. I
Mhm.
with soccer game, I'll win the next one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I had so much that came in right after high school, business partnerships, guys that are taking advantage of me, just, like, people that are trying to come in and just kinda using all of your gifts for their own advantage,
Yeah.
and losing everything with a restaurant when I was 22. I had $100,000 invested in a restaurant. Oh, that was everything
Right.
I had to work for.
Right.
And then this last event that happened, there's been so many times that have compounded that it made me only stronger.
Yeah.
To where it's like this last time I wasn't gonna give up by no means, but it was the closest I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
Almost
What
like
else would you do? What would you do?
I'm too stupid to quit. So it's kind of one of those things.
There's
It's
a lot
like
of truth to
there's a
that
lot
for
of
me
truth to
too.
that. Yeah, sure. There's school of hard knocks. I've hit my head a lot of times.
Yeah.
But now we're just hopefully wear a helmet or something, a little
Yeah.
bit. But
I don't know if it comes out like that painting. I'd keep banging it into the wall, man. I mean, that's
There's
pretty
a little
cool.
PTSD. But yeah, no, I just think that's probably just from taking the risk, failing. Okay, let's keep failing forward. Basically, that's one of my mentors. That's one of his main quotes: is keep failing forward.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, because you're not gonna, by no means. I mean, if everything is perfect along the way, where's the damn story in that?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the only thing I can. When I was doing this speech, I'm like, what do I want to teach these kids? The main thing, I'm like, understand that takes grit and that failure is okay. And
Mhm.
where does that stem from? It's that memory.
Yeah.
Just like I said, it's a figure eight, and it just like
That's
that
an
was
awesome story.
yeah.
Because
So
as a parent and looking at and teaching my boys, it's like I look at that story and I go, wow. Not only did he teach you how to ride a bike, he taught you life.
yeah,
And you were his little buddy, and that was what he wanted to do. And it's like, okay, now look what it's turned into. The
yeah.
military piece, and then it goes back to that. It's like that's just
It was a cool.
it's a
Yeah.
great I hate to say it this way, but it's a really good start. Does that make sense?
Oh, amen.
Because where you man, the next event may have 10,000 people, 20,000 people.
Yeah.
You're gonna be up there doing your thing because I would say it'd be hard for somebody not to watch. I've seen the video and I've seen how you do it, but it's like, have you seen anybody do that? Did you steal the idea from somebody for this paintings? Did you like
So this.
I'm not an art connoisseur. I don't sit around and judge and know this from that. Just
Oh, that's
looking at
something
it,
to talk.
right?
Yeah. So actually, it stemmed from. So basically, it was right after I met you. Basically, I was getting seen by all these kind of different guys. I was trying to get myself out there, and basically, he doesn't work for me anymore. But he was like my little brother at the time,
Yeah.
and he was my designer and different stuff like that. So I'm like a little younger version of me. He goes, "Hey, I want to do an art project one night." I'm like, "You know what? I haven't done art for a long time. Let's fucking do it."
Yeah.
So I did a big gorilla because that was like basically gorilla stands for loyalty, humble, courage,
Right.
different stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I want to do a big gorilla and let's just see what happens. So I threw a bunch of paint at it. I put like, the paint over his eyes to kind of tap that deep down with the heart, wrote some different quotes on there. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then, that was the only thing I'd done. Yeah, that was the only art thing that I'd done in a long time.
Okay.
And then that kind of happened. And then, like I said, when I lost all my memory and different stuff like that, I would sit up there on that third floor and I would just stare at that piece because there was so much hurt there. There was so much story. There was everything like that. Brad wanted to buy that piece and different stuff. But it was just like, when I was doing those slashes, there was a lot of, I didn't heal a lot of different stuff.
Right.
So it's like each one of these red slashes, sometimes someone took advantage of me,
Right.
or someone, just
Right.
whatever it may be.
Right.
And there was a lot of truth to that. And like I said, after all this, and when God started talking to me, that was one of the main things I saw. It's just basically doing that. At the time, weirdly enough, it was actually a Mike Tyson piece that I
Okay.
saw in my head
Yeah.
doing it on stage, punching the thing with a punching glove and different stuff like that.
Okay.
And then that's kind of where it's all stemmed from. It's like, okay, how can I make this interactive? How can I make this cool? I'd let my whole personality come out here and create something that's badass at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And there's actually this guy that kind of has a little bit of the same style. Mine's 10 times cooler. You know, he
Yeah.
just usually
Yeah.
just uses like an image and he puts quotes over it and like spray paint and different shit like that.
Yeah.
I do the whole Photoshop side of things. When he was, I kind of looked up to him a little bit. You know, he's done some for some pretty big name guys and different
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I was DMing back and forth. And I remember there was at one point to where I'd showed him this gorilla piece once I got it all done. And he goes, man, everybody's gonna think that's my stuff. He said, you need to find your own dip. And he's like, what's the old art you used to do? So I showed him back when I was in high school. He goes, you stick with that. And I'm like, no. I'm like, this looks cooler and shit. That's what I can do.
Yeah.
But it was the ego. It was a jealousy thing. It was just
Yeah.
like, he was kind of really shitty in the
Yeah.
message there. And it kind
Yeah.
of hit me. It's like, man, that's not who I want to be.
Right.
Like, if I saw someone that had this talent, it's like, all right, own up, son. Let's
Yeah.
see what you can do. Like,
Yeah.
can you do better than me? All right,
Right.
let's do it.
Right.
And he's like, I'll be pissed off if I see that in a gallery next to mine. And it's like, do
Good.
better. You know? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just like,
I like that.
so that's kind of where the idea, like I said, it was just one of those, we were just messing around and like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then it's just pretty much when you got to bring like mine, the ideas come in from a million one different directions. It's like, how do we bring this and bring it all full center?
So what would you tell somebody that may have been knocked down, they need to get up, and they try to paint and it just makes them feel worse because of how bad they are at it? What is something that they could do? Because you go for walks, you have your prayer time.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to you than
there's a
just
lot.
throwing paint on the
Yeah.
canvas. Your walks. Tell us about your walks, because there may be people like me that can't paint, but they still have problems.
Dude. Yeah. I mean, like that was when I started, you know, I was always, I like to work out and different stuff like that
Yeah.
and shit. That was that spiritual teacher that I was telling you that I was working with and different stuff. And he goes, maybe you should start going on walks. Let the brain slow down a little bit and maybe God will talk to you in a different way. Cause at the time when I was, like I told you, I was trying to pray and I was hearing like reading around the rosy and there was something dark
Yeah.
going on, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like every time I try to talk to God, this is what I hear. And I'm like, but I was going on the walks and it was just trying to slow my brain down, focus on what was in front of me, be present.
Yeah.
And I told you, I kept hearing faith, trust, opportunity waits. Gives me chills when I say it, but those 4 words,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
you know, those 4 words just kept popping in my head. It's like,
Yeah.
is there someone over there in the trees like whispering that? Like, what's going on? But it
Yeah.
was just like, and that's just made so much sense. But it like, that was that little bit that just kind of helped me come back. Just
Yeah.
come back. You know, like there's a lot of stuff that I hadn't healed that I didn't understand that was making a difference. You know, like when it came to like, you know, I was wanting to be successful. I was
Yeah.
wanting to be,
You
I
wanted
was wanting to go to
money.
business. Yeah, that was a lot of it.
Success was money
Yeah.
to you at that time.
Yeah, for a little. I mean,
Yeah.
the Adderall did some of that too.
Yeah.
I was straight up. But
Yeah.
at the time, growing up, you know, I'm skipping college. I'm going straight into business. I do want to make money. I want to be successful for
Yeah.
myself because I want to make a difference in the side
Right.
of things. And yeah, I mean, there was so much hurt that I never really addressed. I just pushed it back until there's no other option.
Right.
You know, so like I said, there's a lot of meditation there. There's a lot of prayer. There's a lot of walks. There's a lot of, you know, I'd done a couple different art pieces when all this stuff was going on. And dude, I wrote all sorts of bad things about myself on there. I was practicing the speech. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's not me. That's not who you know. I was,
Right.
you know, I
Right.
was writing like ADHD really big up there and different shit like that. And I was like, man, I can do better than that. But it
Mhm.
just like, it just step by step because when you see things through a lens instead of a victim mindset and you see it from what is the lesson I'm supposed to learn from this thing, it changes everything. And that was, thankfully, that's how I viewed everything, every failure that I went through. Started with that restaurant mainly. It's like, what was I supposed to learn from this? What did I do wrong? You know, like, hey, what am I doing wrong? 'Cause
Right.
I can sleep in my head at night peacefully without, my brain, but knowing that I never took advantage of anybody, knowing
Right.
that I never did anything the wrong way, you know, I used that moral compass and I always went. And that just, I don't know, you know, like, I don't know what else to say on that, but it just mainly just like, dude, there's so much stuff that I hadn't healed.
Mhm.
And just because you think that everybody else has the same intentions that you would for someone else,
No.
and not, unfortunately,
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
lot
I've
of
been
people
there.
out
Yeah.
there that, yeah. And I had to learn that very hard
Yeah.
early on. But it's just that seeing that, no, it's coming back here. But seeing that lens of like, what was I supposed to learn from this lesson?
Right.
You know, like all this stuff, like I'd spend all this money to get in front of these guys, you know, get myself out there because I knew it was going to create opportunities for
Yeah.
myself. Because I knew I was doing it. I just needed to
Yeah.
get seen. I'm a small little town in Indiana, 2,000 people.
Right.
You know, I need to get myself out there. So that's what I was trying to do. But unfortunately, there were some others that came in between there and stuff. But it just seeing, okay, what was I supposed to learn here?
Mhm.
Where am I supposed to go? What are you telling me? You know?
Mhm.
And it just, when you go back to that, instead of getting stuck up in this head and trying to figure it out yourself, once the dust settles,
Mhm.
the answers come in. And you just got to keep moving, though.
Mhm.
Not like settle. You know, how easy would it have been for me to get a normal job.
Yeah.
Go back, this stuff didn't work. Like, I'm not good enough. I can go back here. But would I have ever been happy?
No.
No. Like, no.
No. Nope.
So that was kind of where it was at. It's like, okay, well, what the hell is gonna make me happy
Yeah.
here? I don't have to make any money from it. What's gonna make me happy?
Yeah.
And then, like I said, after that, I started seeing what God was playing in my head, and then just kind of, yeah,
I love the story because here's what I hear. You got kicked in the teeth. You made room for God by going on your walks. You opened the door and you started hearing the trees, started hearing God's voice tell you, was it faith, trust, opportunity?
faith, trust, opportunity, woods.
Opportunity waits. And it's like, okay, I can deal with that now because now you have that relationship,
Yeah.
right?
That was four words that I held on to so
Yeah.
you could hold on to anything
Yeah.
else.
Well, don't hold on to him too long because he'll tell you more.
What-
Oh, he's got more
But
for
at
you.
that time, that was all
Yeah.
I had.
Yeah.
But and it's kind of like talking about that, like even like last night, dude. But when you mentioned the way he prays,
Yeah.
that's how I've always prayed.
Yeah.
I start off, thank you, God. Thank you for absolutely everything. I don't know exactly what to thank you for, but thank you for everything. Even when I'm at the lowest of the lows, thank you,
Yes.
because I know there's a
Yes.
lesson on the other side
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
And there's so much like, I know you said you asked him like what it was, but there's just so much genuine heart.
It is.
And it's like
It
if
is.
everybody could see through that lens, how much simpler does that make everything?
Yeah.
Because you understand there's a much bigger agenda behind this. There's this golden path that you're trying to get on, and all he's trying to do is redirect you.
Mhm.
Sometimes you make different decisions, get yourself over here a little bit, and if you're not going to listen, you're going to keep going farther this direction. But if you get knocked down a little bit, how do I get back on his?
Yeah.
How do I get back on that golden path, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. Well,
And
yeah.
I don't know. It just
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
yeah.
No, that's perfect.
Okay.
Because what you're doing is you've made space, you let God in, you're hearing his voice. And now, I say it this way. When you're young, you learn. And then usually 20s and 30s, you earn. And maybe in your 40s, 50s, you can return the information. You're 27 and you're returning information to the high. You're just so far ahead. I wish you would see it from the way I see you. I wish you looked at yourself as impressed. I'm like, I remember seeing you at an event, sitting in the front row, listening to every word, talking, communicating. You talked to Ryan Pinata or Pinata, whatever his name is, and he was like, "You suck," and it was like, "Okay, Nick," but you didn't go, "Well, you suck," and it was like, "Okay, that's probably what you wanted to do." But I remember that story.
Oh, yeah.
I remember you talking to him.
Yeah.
And then I sit back and I just watched, and I was like, "Okay, what do you do?" And you said in your show, and I'm like, My thought was that kid's unique. He's got a gift. If God gets a hold of it, there's no ceiling. There's no limit. And it's unfortunate, I think, that we as humans sometimes look at that failure and then we abort mission and we run, right? Or maybe things, you're married now and you've been married for what, like a month, 2 months, 6 months?
I think it's about 5, 6
You
months.
better get that right. We don't know when that's going to be aired, so it'll work. Now, when you go into complications in your marriage, how much stronger are you going to be for her?
And 10 times stronger.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's another thing. That's why her and I have a strong relationship as we do, because she's been with through all the failures.
Yeah.
She was with when I first started that restaurant. She was with when I lost everything. So she's seen me at the lowest of the lows, actually 2 times now, give or take, and she was the one that stuck around
That's
the whole
awesome.
time.
Yeah.
It builds so much strength. Like you said, like I got to remember, I was actually thinking about this last night. I'm like, man, I have done a lot of shit, it was just the option. Cause I want to get myself so far ahead after high school. I saw everybody else was going to college. That wasn't for me. That's not how I learned. I was more of a hands-on guy.
Right.
And I built this business up a little bit. I'd built enough to open a restaurant. So then I opened that restaurant. I put $100,000 into something that it was very sentimental to me with my grandpa and different stuff too.
Yeah.
I lost everything with that. I had to restart again. I built my way back up again. I invested with all these guys trying to get myself seen, and then had some really dark stuff happen. Yet knocked all the way down again.
Right.
But it just builds a different type of resilience and a really different type of strength, because every time you go into something different, you're like, oh, well, I was here at one point. I got myself out of this.
Yeah.
So it gives you a new baseline, whatever you want to call it there.
Yeah.
I got to start looking in this camera. It's probably too late now, but I'm
You're
talking
fine.
to you.
You're fine. It's good. But let's take, for example, today. I'm gone. You and Courtney had to go pick up equipment for it. Like, there's always something that could cause us to go, damn, I quit. Like, I've already spent this. We've done this. We put this together. Now it's one more, but I think that fuels me in a way. Does that fuel you?
Oh, dude.
Like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
God's on my team. I win. God wins.
Yeah. It's almost like, how are you going to handle this?
Yeah.
Are you going to crunch when it's under pressure, or are you going to figure it out? It's the simplest saying. what I forget exactly what it is, but the diamond builds under pressure.
That's
It's simple. I mean, that's like I said, each of those failures has built
mm,
more and more pressure each time. So we're that way when something big like this happens, it's all right, figure it out, and now we got a different lens to look at it from. And it just, I don't know, it's been a wild ride, and I'm only getting started, but
yeah,
it's super. I don't know, just like I guess, like I said, I told you after high school, I built that whole apartment on my own. I had a buddy come in to help towards the end there and different stuff.
right.
I had no idea what the hell I was doing. YouTube University, I figured it out,
Yeah,
and it just, there are moments where I was like, I can't do any of this, it's like, what am I gonna do?
that's
But
cool.
again, it's one of those things to where it builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And it's like, maybe I'm not saying the right stuff sometimes, but it's like, I'm just letting the big man talk through me. I'm hoping the right stuff comes out.
It will.
And it's just like, it just
It
kind
will.
of,
It
yeah, it's like just speaking through this 10 times more than I'm speaking through this. And
yeah,
there's some
yeah,
gold in there,
it
It just
is.
kind of,
No, it's encouraging, man, because I'll say it like this. I am yeah, that's sad, but I am old enough to be your dad, and it's like I look at that and I go, "It makes me feel good to know that there's guys in your age range that are doing what you're doing." Because I'm not gonna be here forever. And my boys having a few moments, like they stayed up past bedtime last night because Nick was coming in, and they wanted
I
to,
would have liked to talk to him
right?
longer.
And we may go get them tomorrow when they get done, but it's like, hey, they look up to you because they've seen the art and they hear how we talk about you at the house, and it's like, you know, and I know that is that hard for you to feel?
Really?
No? Good,
It's like,
good.
it's a really good feeling,
That's awesome
because I want to be that I
because that's
wish I
part
would
of
have
your
had.
gift,
I
though.
wish I would have had that when I was that age to see.
That's a
I
great
didn't really
answer.
see the lens, like I listened to guys like Brad and different like that were so far up here. I didn't see anybody my age that was going out there and
Right.
doing it and different like that. So that is like what I wanted, especially as I'm as young as I am now. Before I'm, 35, 40, whatever it may be. I
Yeah.
want to be
Oh,
get
that's
myself there
way old.
more.
No.
Yeah, but no,
Damn.
but you know what I'm saying? Where I'm at
35, my God.
but when I'm at a relatable level
Yeah.
with the kids.
You are.
That's where it's like,
No,
when I'm
I
done the
get
high
that.
school, it's like, guys, I was in your seats 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been through a
Yeah.
lifetime worth of lessons and failures here in 10 years. It's like, here's having the confidence in yourself to go. And if you need anybody help, just reach out. It's just,
Yeah. I do
that's,
wanna say I love your answer because I said, "Do you feel like that?" Because if you hadn't gone through the entire process and journey to get on stage and do this continuously, you would still have some of that maybe imposter syndrome, or there would be something inside of you that was like, it's tough to sign an autograph. It's tough when somebody asks for a picture. It makes me feel a certain way because they really want a piece of that God that you have. They really want to be close to that. And when you can express it this way, to me, it's like, okay, I could play baseball a long time ago. I didn't use that platform in the best way. I used it to see, I know my wife's in here, but I didn't use it for all good. We'll say it that way, okay?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah.
try. It
Uh,
was like, but now your gift and you're using it for the kingdom and you're making heaven more crowded and you're giving these kids something to look up to. I like to say it this way. You're a success story, but it hasn't been straight success.
Not even close.
And that's what's beautiful about the story. And your girl staying there with you. So shout out to
Like,
her, man.
no, that's not her saying.
Shout out to
Yeah,
her.
but like, it's like talked about that, like, even like in our speech,
Yeah.
like, I'm using like the hockey stick analogy.
Yeah.
I always talk about success as like a straight line. And at one point you hit this arch that's going up. My guys, I thought I was right here at this arch, but look at all these dents that are in this hockey stick. Look at all
Uh-huh.
this scratches. That's what truly builds the character.
Mhm.
And this is a brand new hockey stick, but this thing going up cool? No.
No,
And
that's a
there's
good
no
point.
story to
Yeah.
that. But train of thought back, right? But yeah, it's just like, that was like, especially with this last time that happened, I hadn't healed a lot of different stuff. So it's like almost like kind of like God was like, okay, let's use a double-sided, make this happen. It's like, there's a lot of stuff that he needs to heal here. Let's figure this stuff out. So that way I can put him on the stages he needs to be on.
Yeah.
When I told you 4 years ago, whatever it was, 3 years, I saw myself, I'm going to be on the stage one day. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I'm going to be on the stage one day. Well, again, there's a lot of different stuff that you got to get past that imposter syndrome. That was one of those things when I had that, everything happened. I went from being this leader that I knew I was leading these guys the right way to absolutely having no clue if I was leading anybody in the right way. What direction to even lead myself. So that imposter syndrome was coming in like nothing other.
And I remember
So
talking to you during that time, and it bothered you, the people that were working with you and for you and helping you. And you were like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to let these people, I want to
and
work
I'd
like,
wanted that team forever. That was
yes.
something I'd worked for forever.
And it's like, wow, God, you had so much more for me. And I'm not saying they're bad people, and I'm
No,
not saying
no,
that they
but
were
it's just like
constricting but it's like,
I cannot do what I'm doing now with the
exactly,
team,
exactly.
at least at that level. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
You
Like
could reopen that business
that,
later and let the team go do it.
yeah, that's a little different, you
Yeah,
know.
you'll
But yeah,
design it and they
it was
paint it.
just like it's like I can bring a couple more guys on
Yeah.
here and there to
Do
help
you?
Keegan out,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Do you put your name on the piece?
so that's one thing I was thinking about the other day.
Do you?
I do so I do made to stand out. That's the
Okay.
saying or
Yes.
slogan down
Yes.
there, and
Yep.
I put my logo on there.
Okay.
But I don't sign it or nothing like that.
Okay.
So I'm like, maybe I should. I don't know.
I don't
Just
know. I
because
think
every
it's,
artist signs it, but I'm like, what if I did something different? And that's like I said,
I
that
don't know
made to
that.
stand out in the logo is almost like the signature.
Yeah. No, I like that.
Because like the Mendoza piece, when I have him fucking sign it, it'd look kind of goofy if there's two signatures on there.
True.
You know, like
True.
I'm gonna have him sign it, so like that's kind of the finishing touches. I don't know. It just kind of like I sign it my own
I don't
way,
think you
and
need
it's
to.
just
That was kind of my point.
yeah,
I think everybody who sees it's gonna recognize that that's Mended Art. That's Nick.
yeah.
That's who designed that piece. Because once they get printed and printed and
Yeah. It
yeah,
should be the goal is for it to be every one day. You know? Yeah,
exactly. And why not?
yeah, exactly.
Why
It
not?
just
Who better to go tell the story than the guy that lived
I,
it?
I like to humble myself down,
Yeah,
and yeah, see it from that lens though too.
yeah.
It's just like I don't know, man. It just when you talked about the imposter syndrome just for a second, it was it was so interesting because I had thought you talked about this hustle culture, all
Mhm.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Working 24/7. That's the way to get there. Whatever it may be. That's what I was doing. I was killing myself to an extent to where I was aging, and it was just like I did not look healthy because I was like, this is the only way up. I'm just gonna work 24/7. I'm gonna get this done. I'm gonna make money. I'm gonna keep producing, invest in business, different stuff like that. And that was all wiped away.
Yeah.
It's like, what is there of me left? If I can't even work, like, what is, that was my whole identity a little bit. But now there's so much more to that. I know I'm a damn good worker. I know I got a hell of a work ethic, but I
Right.
know I'm spiritually tuned over here. I know I'm aligned, all this kind of different stuff that I wasn't before. I know my connection with God is 10 times stronger than it ever was. I've got the right people around me. I've got the best connections, the mentors that if I didn't have to go through this whole thing to build me even stronger than I was at the time when I thought I was on top of the world, what would be going on? When I was getting up on here on stage with you tonight,
Yeah.
would I have the imposter syndrome come in? But it's just like, no, man, I know I've got this light that I need to shine for other people and help them get out of the darkness a little bit and just kind of be that source, just a little bit of an anchor.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And just kind of use my personality to get out there. And I know that's going to make the difference. So that's just kind of where it's like, just those thoughts still come in just a little bit, but it's
Yeah.
like, man, I've failed enough. I've done enough stuff. I'm good. But the money's gonna come around at some point, give
Yeah.
or take. But it's like
Yeah.
I've done enough shit. It's like just I'm gonna get out there, and God forbid I fail again. We'll figure it out. It just
As we wrap up this show, I want to. Some people have asked me, okay, what's Nick like? I said he's a born again Christian that may say fuck right after
it
he
comes out
prays.
every
Like
once in a while, yeah.
and the show's going to prove that. All right, but it's like you have at 27 been through hell. And I don't want to belittle that at all. From being on the phone with you, from seeing it, it's like, damn, damn. Like that. I remember us doing a live on Instagram and she was talking about a verse in James and you were talking about it. And it was almost a reach for you though. Like you were like,
Yeah.
I know it, but I can't see it right now. And now you're here at an event as the guest. We're going to do a live podcast.
Yeah.
And you're standing up here with a painting that don't fit in the bed of a full-size truck.
No,
To present like it's
Yeah.
hanging out of his truck, guys. And you're here and you're like, hey, guess what? I did this so other people can see this. I did this to share. So, and I appreciate
Yeah.
what you're doing right now. It's true. That's the realness of it.
Yeah.
And that's why
you
you're
got me
here.
cheering up over here
Well,
talking about it,
good,
but yeah,
good.
it's just kind of
But that's the realness of it. And I want people to see that because if I have a gift, God, I'm still waiting for you to show me. It's being able to show people things that they don't see because maybe the struggles, maybe what they're dealing with. But it's like, hey, the one guy told me the other day, he goes, how are you, Brian? And I say, I am awesome. And he goes, bullshit. Nobody's awesome all the time. And I said, up here,
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you have adopted. You're a fighter. You're not going to quit. And you're like, okay, bring all the crap because that's just going to make the artwork that much better. I mean,
there's definitely some PTSD in there
Yeah.
somewhere, it just
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know. It's built me into who I am. And it just, you mentioned that. Yeah, there's been numerous times where,
Yeah.
and it's like, never had the suicide thing in mind. And I can only imagine how that feels for someone, but it just like the level of just, I don't know, just hurt, man.
Yeah.
Especially when you have Especially when you have good intentions behind it,
Yeah,
Ryan, and a
of
lot of people don't
course.
return those favors or they're trying to take advantage of you. It's like, "Man, what am I doing wrong?
They
I
don't
don't
know
see this
how
stuff."
to, Nick.
I know, but I
I have to say
my
those
discernment's 10 times better now than it used to be, but it just like, it just yeah,
yeah.
it's very
Your
I don't
bullshit
know.
meter's on better alert, and that's what I was told I needed when I first got
Yeah,
around some of those guys.
yeah.
They're like, "You better turn your
Well,
m
just back
meter
to
on."
the simple dude, you like to think that everybody has the same intentions that you do, but they don't, unfortunately. I mean, there's a lot of people that are good people out there, but there's enough that are on the other side,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And there's just yeah, I don't
You know, I understand, and you and I have talked. I've been financially a lot more successful than I am now, and I told somebody the other day, if you saw my bank account, you'd probably make a donation. But right now, I'm looking at it going, I've never in my life, and I just continue to feel more peace, to feel more
yeah,
like, hey, I can go sit down because I was like you were doing just not so long ago when I started the insurance business 5 years ago. Okay, well, I got to outrun every other insurance. I got to go talk to her. I got to go send it. I got to pay for these leads. I got to go to this thing. And it's like, no, if I would have stopped and taken the walk, if I would have stopped and gotten around, and I have been around great people, and I'm not saying that by any stretch, but the things that you chose to do, was there somebody telling you to go talk to that preacher? Was there somebody, or did that?
I mean, the pastor, I mean, that he was a youth mentor back when I was in high school.
Okay, so
So
y'all
I was
had a
and we him and
rapport.
I worked
Yeah,
out at one point and different stuff like
yeah,
that for a while there, and we were cool, but it was just like, I need to go talk to him. I need to talk to this other Marcus, one of the ones that came in and just kinda give him I had the right people that came in.
yeah,
Because like I said at the time, I had no idea who to trust. I mean, straight up, man. It's just like, okay, if I can't trust this guy, this other one that's coming in here with all this love and light, man, like who can I trust?
yeah.
So I'm gonna put it all right here and please
You've
don't let me,
got yeah,
like
yeah,
it happen again.
yeah,
But it just I've been very fortunate enough to have the right mentors come in. I mean, my parents have always been awesome,
yeah,
but you can only take so much advice from without taking
yeah,
a different source. And it just I don't know. I've had the right people that have came in and all the money that I spent to get myself in front of the right people that I thought for entirely different idea,
yeah,
that was
yeah,
going in a different direction. It's all coming back around full circle and it made sense. And it all works in a really cool way. But
yeah.
it just kind of, yeah, I mean, like I said at that time, like I had the wife, I had to let the whole team go. I had my mom, my dad, my grandma, and then that was all I had as a base that I knew I could trust. And after that, it's like one by one, let's get back here to, because I'm telling you, man, it was just like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Um, I don't need to go into detail on on here.
right.
It was just kind of
There was some dark things that
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
Yeah,
I was waking up with like the stars and shit. It was
yeah,
yeah, but yeah, it just knowing that source of light, and it's like, okay, how would Jesus walk the walk here? Give or take. Okay, is that what this person's telling me? Is there a bullshit meter up or whatever it may be?
yeah, yeah.
And how do I keep it moving in this direction?
Mhm.
And like I said, the right people came in when I needed them the most, and like that was all I had to hang on to. And I started seeing these visions when I was up on the roof smoking a cigar.
Yeah,
I was walking, God was talking to me,
yeah,
but you have to see the lowest of the lows to truly be grateful and understand how powerful a moment like this is.
mhm.
Now I understand where I was 22 months and 2 days ago, give or
Yeah,
take. Yeah.
yeah.
And actually I'm looking back, it was exactly 22 months and 2 days when I met you.
Okay.
And
It was in May, I just
I
couldn't
know that
remember.
number, but it's like the lot saver on my screen. So basically when I was doing everything with that restaurant and things were starting to get bad. I don't know if I ever told you the story or not, but I I was at Walmart. I think I was buying pineapple or something like that for
Yeah,
the restaurant. And I was coaching soccer at the time. I was running Iconic and I was also running the restaurant. And I dropped a can. This is when God spoke to me the loudest he'd ever done at this point. I dropped a can and I looked up. I remember getting down on my knees to grab it and pick it up. And I looked up and the whole row was 222 all the way across. And
okay.
that's one of those moments, I looked up what it meant and it meant, balance and a lot of different stuff that was in
Right.
there. And I looked it up and like, I was talking to the pastor. He's like, man, that was the only way God talked to you at the time.
Yeah,
Now I see those numbers all over the place and different stuff. But he's
yeah.
like, that was the way God had talked to you at the time. And I just thought it was very ironic that this event fell on the exact 22 months and 2 days from when you and I
I
met.
didn't plan that.
I know, but it was
Yeah,
again one of those again full circle moments and different stuff.
yeah.
And it just before we end up, but I do want to truly say from the bottom of my heart, I'm truly grateful for you. Out of all the people you
Thank you.
connected with, reaching out to me,
Yeah,
to be
well,
part of this as much as I am, like that, it means a lot, Ryan. Like seriously,
thank you.
you will not regret it one bit, bro.
Thank
I'm
you,
telling
thank
you.
you. No, there's no way I can. The the thing that I want people to hear is that was the only way God could talk to you. There's so much truth in your story, bro. It just most people don't get this raw and real. because they wanna say, "I was sitting in church praying and God said, 'You're gonna be okay.'" It don't normally happen like that. You're sometimes smoking a cigar, you're sometimes sitting there half asleep, awake, you don't really know, and then all of a sudden, poof, and it's like, "Oh, okay." But he has to get your attention somehow that relates to you, and
Yep.
then you dive deeper, man. I'm gonna wrap up with this question. What is something that you haven't done that you wanna do?
Haven't done that I wanna do. I've done a lot of stuff, but
Have you skydived? Have you done everything?
skydived on the honeymoon, went to Vegas a couple times, that was
Yeah.
cool. I haven't I mean, wanna have a beach house one day, that's one thing,
Okay.
yes, but the main thing I mean, realistically, I haven't gotten on stage officially yet and spoke and made
Yeah.
an impact.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably I mean, I've done the art pieces, those are
Yeah.
super cool,
Right.
I get in front of the right people, but
Yeah.
it's mainly just that getting on stage and speaking, get myself seen. I
Yeah.
don't know, I mean,
Well, you can't
everything
say that
else
tomorrow.
what's that?
You can't say
Yeah,
it
I know,
tomorrow
that's
because
fair
tonight you're gonna
fair
ruin
enough,
that.
yeah, but I would say that is the brain's whirling, that's the only thing I can think of that I mean,
That
that and picking up everything and moving to a beach somewhere,
Sure, sure.
But
Of course.
that's,
I
that's
mean,
for another time,
yeah.
give or take.
But I want people to hear your answer because you are being where your feet are. You are being in the moment. You don't have some kind of outlandish, like, sure, beach house. Yeah, you and your girl hanging out at the beach. I would love to have a
Yeah,
beach
we
house.
all
Yeah. And okay, one day maybe I'll come visit you and I can say it's mine for the weekend. But it's like, there's so many things that if somebody will go back and watch the show and see, that's real. That's real. That's how God's talking to Nick. That's why Nick did this painting. This ain't no smoke.
bro, I'd forget what I said if I was talking to you, like,
That's good.
I couldn't come that's why I always
That's good.
tell, like, just anybody, I'm like, "Dude, I can't lie,"
Yeah.
because my bull like, I'll fucking forget what I told you.
Yeah.
So it's just like,
Right.
"Here it is, if you don't
Right.
like it, then let's keep
Right.
moving," but it's just kinda
Well, I just happened to look at a clock and I apologize because we're supposed to
no, we
be
probably
down
gotta start getting set up,
at
don't
the
we? Yeah,
meeting
I'm
at the
sorry.
event. Nick, thank you for being here, bro,
Hey,
in many
thank you.
ways, and we'll catch back up tonight and do more. Guys, thank you for watching Podcast on Wheels. You're gonna see this episode, you're gonna see more. We're gonna do some live, and tonight in Huntsville, we're gonna get him up there, we're gonna make the impact, and we're gonna bless some people. Thank you guys for watching Podcast on Wheels.